Hello everyone and fan wings alike. My name is Pask and welcome to my channel. In this video I'll be showing two original characters I made this week in their speed paints. Their names are Nisa and Chorus. Stick around to learn more about these characters. Firstly, I drew my new character, Nisa. She's named after a genus of moth. I chose her color palette based on a mood board I discovered on Pinterest, as you can see in the upper right hand corner. I really liked how the colors went together, the magenta especially. Going into this drawing, I had no concept of who she'd be or who her partner in the story was. I didn't even know what the story would unfold as. As I was drawing my sketch, I began to have this idea that she'd be some sort of artist. This mainly spawned from the painterly feel of the mood board I found. She's a regular silk wing with no flame silk, and I do believe her and Chorus's story will be mostly character driven instead of plot based. Nisa's story will take place around 15 years after the fall of Wasp in The Flames of Hope, Book 15 of Wings of Fire. She is a young adult, being 11 years old and dragon years at the beginning of the plot. She comes from a working class silkwing family who, under Wasp's control, 15 years prior, had previously been working for hive-wing upper-class dragons. Her parents met after the end of Wasp's reign and had her egg soon after. She is an older sister to her parents' second egg, a female dragonette. She definitely gives off extreme older sister energy. Looking at my drawing, I am adding more and more details to finish up the sketch. Sometimes I really hate drawing scales, but this time it wasn't that bad. If you are a dragon or Wings of Fire artist too, please let me know how you feel about drawing scales. Now I am trying and failing to add accessories to my character. At this point, it's been 50 minutes to an hour of drawing. Let's return to Nisa and her story though. Her parents, as mentioned before, own a medicine and herb shop, and as the eldest, she struggles with knowing her parents want her to take over the family shop. Also, I forgot to mention, she lives in Setsi Hive with her family. This is the hive with the university teaching healers how to use medicine. Although she is the eldest sister and the oldest daughter, with her purpose in life to take over the family store, that doesn't stop her main ambition and goal, which is to develop a painting gallery in Jewel Hive and live amongst all the beautiful art there. However, with her obligations and a lack of money, she doesn't have the means to get to where she wants to be. As I continue the liner in my drawing, I'm going to speed up the speed paint slightly. And as we get closer to getting to Chorus's speed paint, I want to talk about how they meet for the first time. I will go into more depth about this later, but Chorus has an illness of sorts. And as Nisa and her family own a medicine shop, you can see how they could meet. Chorus goes to the shop in Setsi Hive looking for a new supply of his medicine, a medicine needing a rare Pantalan plant. This is the start of a very good friendship and perhaps something more. And now my drawing is almost done. I am adding just a few more details I forgot and adjusting the colors. And here she is, the final drawing. I am so proud of this one. Let me know if I did Silkwing's justice. Next is the second character I drew this week. Chorus is named after the Tectochorus diophthalmus, which is an insect that can come in a few colors. His color palette is based on the two images shown in the right hand corner, a mood board and his namesake. I want to mention as well that while I'm doing the sketch, I knew I only wanted to make this character a romantic interest for Nisa, naming him and fleshing out his story after I drew his design. To be honest, I was kind of stuck on the characters and plot of these OCs. I quickly realized I wanted him to be a hive-silk hybrid, with the hive-wing genetics dominating. As I draw, I'm thinking of how his story will come into play with Nisa's. And, of course, one of these OCs has to have a sad backstory. So, let's get into Chorus's lore. Chorus is sick with an illness corroding his eyesight and other senses. At age 4 with a single father, he had moved to Setsi Hive. This was of course to find the best healers on the continent. As I said before, he grew up with a single father. His mother had died early on in his childhood within the year of his hatching. Having the same disease as her son, she had a loss of senses and the disease progressed until she died, weak and tired. As I'm recording this, I don't really know everything about the disease yet, or much at all. I will continue developing the timeline and facts of the condition if I decide to continue the story of these OCs. Although being a complex situation, Chorus, despite fearing having the same fate of his mother, remains optimistic. Talking more about my drawing, however, I am now adding the base line art for my dragon. For Chorus, I used the technical pen on Procreate instead of the studio pen, which I usually use. I used the studio pen on Nisa's drawing. The only difference I can really say is that there's more tapering on the technical pen. Drawing these hive-wing wings was actually quite fun. I don't draw hive wings very often, or even silk wings for that matter. Okay, enough about that, let's dive back into the story. Nisa, though being a gifted artist and not being a healer herself, knows a great deal of the talent of healing as well. She had grown up along with her parents' medicine store, learning from visiting university students of herbs and plants for revolutionary new medicines. She holds a vast expanse of knowledge about medicine and where to find and how to harvest such helpful plants. On the day Chorus enters Nisa's family's own store, she is running the shop, in charge of helping customers and making sales. He inquires about a rare herb he had read about in a dusty book he had found in Tsetse Hive's largest library. Chorus loves to read and learn, his wish being to become a university teacher of medicine himself. He takes classes at the Tsetse University where he learns of all the ways to use the plants supplied in stores like Nisa's. His main goal in life is to find the right combination of medicine to cure or slow his condition to prolong his life so he can achieve his dream of helping others, who may suffer from the same rare illness or other life-altering conditions. It's important to note that his sight has begun to get foggy around the edges, and his sense of touch has significantly faded at this point. Before briefly describing the main plot, I'd like to talk about my line art. These scales were a lot of work. Before coloring, it looked very, very busy. But once the color was applied, I really do think the line art works. There were just so many scales to add. It felt like there was no end. I wanted the scales to be mostly hive-wing, but to include some silkwing aspects in Chorus's design. His horns are silkwing, but his wings are hive-wing. He has some silkwing features on his face, but most everything else is a hive-wing design. As I finish the line art, let's talk about the story again. I'm thinking the main plot will be Nisa helping Chorus find the plant needed for this medical breakthrough. A friendship is formed first, and then they go on a journey together to find this plant across the continent. Nisa has a few motivations. She is hoping to help her newfound friend get a rare plant for the store, and prove herself as independent and able to move out on her own to Jewel Hive. That's about it for what I have for the story so far. Here's one last detail about Chorus before the speed paint ends. He has a toxin like some hive wings, but is very weak and lasts only a few minutes. At this point, I'm just finishing the coloring and detailing the wings. Some finishing touches here and there, adding the colored line art, and we're done. Here's the finished drawing. He's a very bright dragon, I hope you like him. And here are the finished drawings together. I don't usually draw Pantalan dragons, so I hope they're alright. Pantala is not my favorite consonant. Pyria holds such a special place in my heart. Although I do love every single book in Wings of Fire, the first 5 books will always be my favorites. There's always such discourse about what's the best book of Wings of Fire, what's the worst, was Flames of Hope even good? So please tell me what your favorite book in Wings of Fire is, I'd love to know. Thank you so much for watching, I'll see you in the next video.